Hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining this introduction to the Royal Town Planning Institute. I'm Robyn Skerrett and I'm a Chartered Town Planner and have been since 2013. I'm also very fortunate this year to be Royal Town Planning Institute Young Planner of the Year 2020. Today's session will cover an introduction to the Royal Town Planning Institute, also known as the RTPI, and we'll look at three things: what the RTPI does, the importance of becoming a chartered member, and then we'll have a panel discussion with three panelists all about the current and future issues and opportunities facing the planning profession and your career as a planner. So what is the Royal Town Planning Institute? Well, the Royal Town Planning Institute, the RTPI, is the UK's leading body representing planners. It's the largest in Europe with over 25,000 members in total, and we have members in over 80 countries around the world. The RTPI does several key things. Firstly, it's a chartered institute focusing on maintaining professional standards, accrediting world-class planning courses nationally and internationally. It's also a charity whose purpose is to advance the science and art of planning to the benefits of the public. And also it leads policy debates and sets the research agenda for the profession. The RTPI also has a really important role in supporting and representing members and promoting the value of good planning. I think one of the key things about the Royal Town Planning Institute is the more you get involved, the more you can get from it. And I've definitely seen the benefits of getting actively involved in the three different regions that I have lived in. So let's look a little bit more at the benefits of being a member of the Royal Town Planning Institute. Well, one of the key benefits if you're beginning your career journey and you're a student is that students get free membership, which is fantastic. If you're not already, do ask your university to enrol you. And there's lots of different benefits that come from being a student member. Firstly, you have access to lots of fantastic RTPI resources and up-to-date news and advice through the website and also the fantastic Planner magazine. You also get access to local networks, and there's discounted events for young planners as well. And more generally, you get access to wider RTPI member benefits and services. In addition to those things, all members also get access to the Royal Town Planning Institute e-learning website, which has some fantastic courses. You also get access to broader training in CPD, both nationally and regionally, and it can help and support you to become a chartered member. Personally, I joined the RTPI as a student member, and it was a great way of broadening my professional network. It also gave me exposure to the breadth of different planning roles and opportunities out there, and the contribution that planners make to society and the built environment profession more widely. So becoming a chartered member, what does that actually mean? Well, being a chartered town planner is the hallmark of the professional expertise and integrity. It demonstrates your skills, your knowledge and your competence. And why should you go through the effort of becoming a chartered town planning member? Well, there's lots. Three things I just wanted to highlight quickly today. Firstly, that it shows your employers, your clients and members of the public that you're at the top of your professional game. Secondly, it carries professional credibility. It might be something you want to mention if you're appearing in front of a planning inquiry or when you're bidding for different work. And thirdly, some jobs require you to have chartered town planning membership. It allows you to progress your career and also potentially secure higher paying roles as well, and can open up a whole range of different opportunities, including potentially working abroad through multinational consultancies. The diagram on the screen in front of you shows some of the one of the options and ways to become a chartered town planning member. This is a fast track route. You undertake fully accredited academic study, you gain work experience after graduating, and then you complete a written submission, the assessment of professional competence. That is an opportunity for you to demonstrate and reflect on your planning skills. And there's a really important emphasis there on your commitment to kind of professional learning and development. For me, becoming a Chartered Town Planning member back in 2013 really encouraged me to get a broad range of planning experience early on in my career, which was fantastic in terms of developing my understanding and where my expertise best lie. It's also been really useful for my jobs and helping me to progress my career. And one of the things that I really like about it, which I've mentioned already, is that requirement to continue to progress your your continuing professional development and being able to continue to learn and grow as a planner and as the planning profession changes and flexes to respond to the world we find ourselves in. This has just been a brief introduction today, and there's lots of ways to find out more. There's further details about the assessment of professional competence, the APC, and membership more generally on the RTPI website. That's rtpi.org.uk/membership. You can also find out much more about education on the Become a Planner part of the website, and again, the address is up in front of you. There's also a really helpful team at the RTPI, so if you do have any questions that aren't answered on those websites, do drop them an email at education@rtpi.org.uk. The next part of today's conversation is all about having a panel discussion with 3 fantastic speakers, and we're going to look at some of the key issues related to planning as we in the years ahead. So let me first turn to our speakers for them to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sue Manns, and I'm the RTPI President for 2020.
Hi, I'm Wei Yang, RTPI President for 2021. I'm a town planner and an urban designer.
Hi, and I'm Ryan Walker. I'm a Chartered Town Planner specialising in sustainable placemaking. I'm the Vice Chair of the Young Planner Network, and I'm also the Chair of RTPI Young Planners.
Sue, Wei, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. It's so exciting to have you here. Sue, can I turn to you first of all, please? I'd love to hear a little bit more about the RTPI's initiative, Plan the World We Need, and understand a bit more about the broad aims. Thank you.
Thank you, Robyn, and thank you ever so much for that wonderful introduction that you've done to the RTPI and the importance of being a member. Now, our Plan the World campaign that you mentioned was launched in June 2020, and it aims to raise awareness of the vital role of planners in every aspect of the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, so that we can revive the economy, we can tackle inequality, and we can meet net zero targets by 2050. So the RTPI is calling on governments across the UK and Ireland to capitalise on the expertise that we as planners can deliver to achieve that sustainable, resilient, inclusive recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, you probably all agree that the pandemic brought into sharp focus the strengths and weaknesses of our places and our way of life. And it's absolutely vital that we plan for a greener place-based recovery that responds not only to the lessons that we learned and that we all learned, but also to the challenges that we were grappling with long before COVID came along, most notably climate change. And unlike COVID-19, which we really didn't anticipate, we can't say that we haven't had plenty of warning about the impacts of climate change. And we believe that governments must capitalise on the expertise of spatial planners, say, to tackle that place-based inequality, enable that green industrial revolution that we've heard the government talk about, prioritising healthy, sustainable modes of transport and coordinating the rapid deployment of zero carbon infrastructure. So the campaign was launched alongside a report also called Plan the World We Need, and it's about the contribution of planning to this sustainable, resilient, inclusive recovery. Now, that report was actually mentioned in the recent white paper on the future of planning in England, so it's already hitting home with governments. And the report sets out this clear vision that we have for the future and the role that planning and planners play in it. Now, alongside this, the RTPI has published a series of research papers which focus on key issues, including healthy placemaking, the role of planning in achieving net zero transport, and a report on why investment in planning is so vital for the country's future prosperity. really recommend you visit the RTPI website and have a look at these. You can read them and you can keep up to date with all other RTPI publications and updates on important issues for the profession. Thank you, Robyn. Back to you.
Thanks, Sue. Such an important campaign, and young planners have a really important role to play on that. So it's really exciting to see where that goes. Turning now to Wei, I'd be really interested to hear a little bit more about the Sustainable Development Goals, perhaps hearing a little bit about how different cities across the world can rise to the challenge of planning in a post-COVID context. Over to you.
Thanks. Sue just mentioned the RTPI Plan the World We Need campaign. It is very true, we all live in one world. In 2015, Sustainable Development Goals were agreed by members of the United Nations. It's a set of goals to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all in the world. Each goal has defined targets to be achieved in 15 years' time. A global goal entirely dedicated to urban areas was set in the form of Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. For the first time, the impacts and opportunities of cities and towns have been recognized. It marks the United Nations acknowledgement of the crucial role that cities will play in the world's future. After that, in 2016, new urban agenda was further adopted by countries around the world at Habitat 3. So urban planning and design were identified as one of the 3 key enablers in the new urban agenda. COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world we live in many ways. There's a strong desire from the public to have a green recovery. In a recent international survey, 65% of the 28,000 adults interviewed suggested that climate change should be prioritized in the economic recovery. Across 14 countries took part in the survey. The highest percentage of supports were from India, Mexico, and China, with at least 80% of the people interviewed were supportive of a green recovery. To achieve Sustainable Development Goals, to tackle climate and biodiversity emergency, as well as tackle inequalities in our society, we need to think globally, act locally, and to be equipped with the state-of-the-art knowledge and technology. According to the State of the Profession Report 2020, architecture and planning has been listed as number 2 of the top 10 industries for sustainability jobs. The RTPI was founded in 1914. It was the first professional body for planners in the world, and it has grown to be one of the largest. Currently, RTPI's new international strategy is being developed in a process led by RTPI members. It is the time for us to take the lead to set the new professional standard to be a global force for good. Also, we aim to create effective engagement package with our student members to support your future career wherever you live and work in the world, and to become a Royal Chartered Town Planner, a global gold professional status. As future planners, you can help build a resilient, inclusive, healthy, and sustainable future. A challenging but exciting time is ahead of us all, so I wish you all the very best in achieving your own goals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you're right, planners have such an important role to play in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals. And it's a big challenge we've got ahead of us, an agenda to 2030. But the planners and their role in bridging different professions, I think that we're so uniquely placed. So I'm really excited and think it's a challenging but exciting road ahead. Now looking again more broadly at the work of the Royal Town Planning Institute, there's lots of other important work going on. Sue, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the RTPI's work on equality, diversity and inclusion in the planning profession. It's so important that we have young people from all backgrounds in the planning profession. So could you tell me a little bit more about the RTPI's work in this space? Thank you.
Thank you, Robyn. I'd be delighted to do that. For me, a career in planning, and certainly in my view, and indeed the view of many planners, is quite possibly one of the most important jobs that society can task anyone with. I can't think of many other professions where the decisions that we take, the policies that we put in place and the actions that we follow will have such a lasting influence on society, the environment and the quality of life for generations to come. But we are all different. We all use spaces and places differently, and it's so important that we plan for everyone. It's a well-known fact that the best decisions are those informed by diverse views. With complex issues such as those tackled by planners, it is simply not possible for one person or a group of people from similar backgrounds to have all the relevant insights. As planners, we need to ensure that diverse views and voices are heard around the decision-making table. Planners and the planning profession should reflect the diversity of the communities they serve. But diversity is about more than gender or ethnicity. It's also about a diversity of thinking, something that isn't necessarily related to certain groups, backgrounds, or upbringings. Similarly, it's about more than a numbers game. It's also about inclusivity. Inviting people to the party is one thing, but asking them to dance is another. We need to make that step change. So for me, every person should be able to fulfill their potential at work, regardless of their background, their identity or circumstance. And we as a profession need to put in place actions to ensure that this is the case, and that everyone starting out on their career as a planner, as you are today, has an equal opportunity to reach the top of their profession. Talent is everywhere, and we cannot afford to let it slip away. Diversity equates to depth and breadth of insight, to perspective, communication skills and life experiences. It reduces groupthink, and it reflects what's going on in the world outside the workplace. Any and every organisation needs that. So the RTPI put together a corporate strategy for 2020-2030 to guide our development over those 10 years. And as one of the 4 pillars of that corporate strategy is the promotion of equality, diversity and inclusivity. That's how important it is. And it identified the need for an action plan to help the Institute, its members, the organisations that they work for, to achieve greater diversity within the profession. And by this, I mean diversity at all levels of the profession. Back in the 1980s, when I was starting out in the profession, long time ago, and probably before most of you were born, women only made up 15% of RTPI members. Now it's almost 40%. And last year, many of our RTPI accredited courses, there were more women than men. Similarly, our profession has been long underrepresented by those from our BAME communities. Again, it's changing with much higher numbers coming through our RTPI accredited planning schools. So these changes, which we're now seeing in the diversity of our younger planners, needs to reach the higher levels of the profession. And I hope that as you reach those levels, then the measures in the action plan that we're putting in place to support, encourage and retain diverse talent of planners today will mean that the teams that you lead are inclusive and balanced and better reflect the society that we serve. But we also need to encourage more young people to come into the profession, just as you are doing. And so any ideas and suggestions that you may have on this would be really welcome. We are one institute and we need to hear from everybody on this and get all the help we can. But the RTPI is working really hard to raise awareness of planning as a career. We certainly got to you because you're on a planning course now, which is good. So we've really got to also reach out to all those groups who are least well represented in the profession. So with this in mind, we're currently undertaking a work experience pilot project that targets those from less privileged backgrounds and supports them into the profession. We're also working with national governments and education providers to develop apprenticeship schemes across the UK and Ireland. Another initiative is a new programme we've called Nurture, which is focused on mentoring and supporting and empowering members. Another one, Education for Everyone, involves a detailed review of the existing entry model into the planning profession with the intention of broadening access pathways. Whilst our Balance project is about targeted education and recruitment of planners from underrepresented communities. So lots going on, and it's my hope that we will see the change that we want and that we need so that our profession reflects the diversity of the communities that we serve, and that you will be key to making this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. fantastic to know about all the different initiatives the Royal Town Planning Institute has to help increase the diversity of the profession. It's incredible work, and so incredibly important too. And it's great that you're looking for and open to ideas and suggestions. There's so much more to do. Turning to you, Ryan, really interested to hear from you. Tell me a little bit more about how COVID is affecting the job opportunities for planners and young planners, and how do you see the role of planners changing in the years ahead as we respond to COVID and beyond?
Yeah, thanks, Robyn. Yeah, I'll happily pick up on those points. So first of all, I think everybody will probably agree both messages so far have been so inspirational. We've heard so much that goes on in terms of the RTPI and the wider profession, but now to look in terms of job opportunities and what those jobs may entail. So first of all, will there be more job opportunities? It's a question everybody wants to know the answer to, particularly students like yourselves sitting there. You're just about to begin that journey going through university, and no matter what stage you're at in university, you'll be probably thinking about what's going to happen afterwards. What are your job opportunities? So I'll get straight to the point, and I'll give you an honest answer. So I do think while there might be some uncertainty in the short term, I think we should be really, really hopeful, and we should be really optimistic. I believe that yes, there will be more job opportunities post-COVID. Has already been mentioned, it's particularly going to be around the green and place-based recovery. So in terms of capitalising upon those opportunities that we're hopefully going to find post-COVID, I think it is important that we as planners develop and expand upon our professional skill sets. The future jobs that are out there, they may be in a slightly wider field than what we traditionally have been used to. I'm only out of university 4 years, and for a lot of people it was that journey, the pathway of university, and you either went into public sector processing applications, or you maybe went private sector and you were creating applications. But I think going forward, it's going to be much more exciting than that as well. I think we're going to move away from the traditional forms of job roles of planners, and that there will be greater prospects for further collaboration and participation with other professions, as well as enhanced engagement with local communities, because post-COVID, people are now expecting, I would go as far as to say they're demanding better, healthier, more resilient places, and we're going to have to be at the forefront of that. So an important point to note that, again, although we've been experiencing a health pandemic, it's inextricably linked, and people are more acutely aware of their environmental surroundings and the impact that has as well. So again, as I say, we're going to be very, very critical in terms of delivering the recovery, but also leading the way that we as a profession and we as a society as well will be moving forward. And I think that's a really exciting journey to be on. So I believe that we should have hope as planners, and I think that we will be able to speak with more authority and more assertiveness as a profession. I hope that the public will be behind us as we're trying to create these better and more sustainable places. And just to give you, in terms of maybe some sort of practical advice in terms of the opportunities and examples of them that could be there post-COVID, in terms of the short term, there's definitely going to be opportunities for involvement in temporary urbanism initiatives, the likes of pop-up cycle lanes, streeteries, and other economic initiatives to try and boost recovery. In the medium to long term, perhaps you could be looking at more job opportunities within strategic planning, say designing the 15-minute cities or 20-minute neighbourhoods, and also just planning for general improved economic resilience and going through the whole updates of local plans and policies in light of the COVID situation. So that for me is kind of summary over job opportunities. I think it's a very positive one that we should be very hopeful for. In terms of planners' roles then, what I think would change, I've kind of alluded to it slightly in what I've just said there, but I think we will have more of a renewed focus on health, on connectivity, on economy, placemaking, active and integrated travel. So you can already see it's building up this fantastic picture of opportunities and roles, and a lot of that will hark back to planning's origins within public health, which is very positive as well. So undoubtedly, we're going to have a difficult task ahead, but it's going to be an exciting task, a task where you can leave your mark. And finally, really, in terms of our planners' roles then, while some elements may change, undoubtedly there is going to be that critical need to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss. And that is something that we as planners need to deliver on. You there will have that opportunity to try and improve the situation, a lasting situation for future generations. And so just to conclude, I think our skill sets as planners are needed now more than ever. I think our role is definitely going to be central to the recovery and the long-term success of our villages, our towns and our cities. And our professional skill sets are very much unique, highly desirable and greatly transferable. So we as a profession and you as students sitting there should be looking very optimistically, very ambitiously and very confidently to the future.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Wow, I feel so energised and inspired after hearing that. Planners and young planners in particular have such a vital role to play, and you've picked up there on both the importance of the knowledge that planners and young planners bring, but also the skills, the unique skill set that we bring, and the role in engaging and collaborating with a whole range of different professions and the public to make sure that we can deliver these fantastic planning outcomes. It's hard to summarise what's been a really interesting and diverse set of reflections from today's panel discussion. What I think it does demonstrate is that you as young planners embarking on your planning journey, your planning studies, your planning career are at a really exciting point and you have a huge contribution to make. It's clear that the RTPI is really keen to support you, and I hope that you will get involved, become a chartered member and seize all of the different opportunities that are there for the taking. Very best of luck with your studies, and look forward to kind of continuing to work and collaborate with you on what is an exciting time ahead. As Wei said, 10 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, a decade of action required. Planners have a really fantastic opportunity, a key role to play, and I look forward to working with you all to make that happen. So thank you very much, good luck, and keep in touch with the RTPI.